What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video. I am Musan Mpenyana and this is Through the Windscreen. So today I managed to get my hands on a pretty controversial car when it came onto the scene in terms of its looks, and that car is the Hyundai Staria. So I have the privilege of being able to drive this car a pretty long distance. So I'll be taking my family, we'll be traveling to a place which I'll disclose along the way, and this will be a different new type of review. Like, this will be a travel vlog type of situation where I give you the honest review of this car and its main purpose of carrying a lot of people at once, and the comfortability, the ride quality, and all other aspects of the whole review. So without further ado, start this review. Start off with the exterior. A weird thing that I've found weird in Hyundai's recent design language is that they have a weird setup of lights. So these are also the high beam, the main lights basically. And the other higher variants usually have a nice light that'll be here usually. And this is the 2.2 diesel version, a mid-range, but nonetheless, man, it's all nice. As you can see, it's just one color, so it's white all the way to the bumper. It's a nice touch to it actually. I actually like the whole single color instead of having white and then that usual gray by the bumper, just to show that it is a entry level or a cheaper version of whatever other car. A big windscreen, as of course you'd need to see through the windscreen. I'm sorry guys. Okay, so the back of the car, guys, right? I don't know how I feel about the back. Actually, I do. I'm not really a huge fan of the back, but also at the same time, it is not that ugly as soon as you get used to it. As I before mentioned, 2.2 diesel, so it'll be very frugal when it comes to long distance drives as well as fuel consumption. The boot now, guys, right? Pretty big lid with all the seats up, right? This is all the boot space you have. I don't need to tell you how many liters it is, guys. You can literally see this thing is mad small. And then in order for you to just expand on the space, you pull here, bring the seats down, and then you may add on top of this, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, the seats don't fold that way, right? Which would be so perfect if you can fold that way so that we can have a proper boot. But anyway, to bring it back up, I'll show you another way of adding on to your boot space on the inside once we talk about the interior. So also, I mean, the usual nice sliding door, not electric, but you may get it in the higher version, so it lasts number your motor basically. Anyway, this car accommodates 11 people in total. In the front, you can turn it into a 3-seater, usual 3 behind the front. And another cool thing is that if you can come and see here, the third row has captain seats, nice captain seats, and at the back there you can add another 3 people, and that adds up to 11 people. So that's pretty crazy, guys, if you think about it. The usual numbers for such cars is about, like, you have 2 in the front, 3, you know what I'm saying? So that's 8 people in total. Anyway, I will talk about the legroom and everything like that as we're driving on the way. So like I said to you before, this is going to be a bit of a lot, different from the usual conventional reviews that we have. So yeah, let's get on the road and I'll chat to you guys when we're on the road. Shout out. Okay, so we're inside the Hyundai Staria, and so far my first impressions of driving this car is that the drive quality is very much impressive. Considering that it is a Hyundai, as controversial as that sounds, but this car is very comfortable. The steering is pretty light, so it's easy for me to maneuver the car around in small spaces or even in town, so I don't really feel the bulkiness of the car. But anyway, as you can see on the side, right, this car has huge windows to accommodate this big door that this car has, and it also contributes to the overall visibility of the car, which is impressive in itself, with this big windscreen that we have here. And the only issue that I have with visibility would be down there by that A pillar, where it's not necessarily a huge issue as such because the car already has parking distance control sensors, but nonetheless you just want to see where your tire is at all times to not curb the wheels or anything like that. So another nice thing about this car is that the visor extends, right, to accommodate this big window that this car has. That's a pretty cool and nice thing that I don't usually find in a lot of cars. So that's a plus one in terms of the points that this car has. The practicality for the car. This car has a number of storage compartments inside this car, as well as, pardon guys, I'm with my niece, so you're gonna hear her speaking from time to time. It's fine. So you have a cup holder right here for the driver, which is pretty convenient, so that I don't take my eyes off the road or I do not crouch down, because the third level where you can actually contain down deep, as you can see. So this really improves the driving experience and does not inhibit it in any way. The digital cluster is right here, right? The sun is behind us, and the entire time, it looks like on the camera, it looks like it's reflecting a lot, but from the driver's perspective, it really is not being inhibited by the sun, which is very impressive, which is usually an issue that you'd find in cars with such a display. So the steering wheel as well in itself is the design is alright, honestly. I'm not really impressed that much, but I don't really hate it that much too. It's a nice leather steering wheel, which is nice and smooth, pretty comfortable for you to drive long distances with. The controls here are plastic, and it is piano black, but they have this nice detail that's here to give it a more elegant type of feel, or premium rather. So for the infotainment system of the car, right? As you guys can see, this is the more entry-level type of display that you find in the Hyundai Staria range, where usually the higher variants you get a nice big proper screen. But nonetheless, this car still has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So you don't need to use the conventional USB cable to connect to here. Also, the infotainment system has touch-sensitive pads on the sides, and to assist you with knowing which button you're pressing, there's small grooves that are here for each button, so that you don't become confused by which button you're pressing, or even if that you've pressed it too. Because usually the issue is that with these touch-sensitive pads, you can't focus on the road and look at the same time in certain situations. So that's another plus on Hyundai's side. The aircon system, this car has single climate zone control. So right here I control the front seats, and then at the back, at the top there's their own controls for the back seat there too. So there's independent control for either part of the car. But another issue is that this car is not covered, but it has a lot of piano black right here, which really collects a lot of fingerprints, dust, and scratches. But nonetheless, it's not really squeaky as much, so it feels pretty solid. So this car is also, I'm currently in eco mode, and this car is fairly good when it comes to fuel economy. I'm going to refer to the fuel economy that I've been doing on this trip right now. So currently I'm just coming from Bloemfontein, driving towards the Eastern Cape in King Williamstown, which is around 570 something kilometers. Right now this car is averaging 8.1 liters per 100 k's, and I've traveled 146 kilometers right now, which is fairly good for a car which is full with people right now and is carrying a pretty heavy load. Even driving to Bloemfontein from East London, it took only 3/4 of a tank to get there, and everything was still comfortable, so there wasn't really a rush for us to fill up on petrol or anything like that. So this car is pretty frugal for a car of its size, and the fact that it is a diesel 2, which is a 2.2 liter diesel variant of this car. This car also has a number of charging points inside of it. It has 2 here in the front, 2 here in the second row, and another 2 in the third row too, which is very convenient for everyone involved in the car, because it prevents any fights or any people fighting over charging their phones and whatnot, or iPads or whatever it is that you want to charge. It also has a wireless charging pad, which is right here, and in this same space this also provides a storage compartment, as well as down there by the gearbox there's 2 cup holders that are down there. And another cool thing is that this seat folds down and it becomes a cup holder or space for you to store your phone or whatever you want to store down here, which is pretty cool, because you can also add a third person in this front row too, and therefore accommodate 11 people in total inside of this car, which is pretty crazy. But now the only issue with that is that the last row, which accommodates 3 people, will eat into the boot space. You practically have no boot space if you have those seats up there too. And this car does not have any roof rails for you to put your luggage, something, forgot the name of that thing. But yeah, please tell me in the comments what the name of that thing is that you put on the top. Okay, so with the lights of this car, right? In the beginning, I thought that due to the design language being something somewhat confusing in my opinion, I thought that the lights would be an issue when it comes to driving at night, more especially in country roads. But to be honest, guys, when I was driving this car at night, I did not have a single problem. Actually, it was even better than most cars that I've driven with halogen lights, right? So this car does not have LED lights, this specific variant. When you want to get the higher variants, then you get LED lights that you can option in. Anyway, this car illuminates the road very, very, very well. Very, very well. And it also, especially on high beam. So for the car's overall performance, right? This car has 3 drive modes, right? Namely Eco, Comfort, and Sport. So on sports, it does accommodate, or rather compensate, on the fact that this car does not have an immense amount of power, but at least it's able to pull its own weight when it comes to overtaking and stuff like that. So when you put into sport, it's more responsive on the throttle. That is the main thing usually, and the steering is a bit lighter, not really something you'd notice if you're just a normal person. So another thing is that this car is 5 meters long, right, and just under 2 meters tall. And like I said before, with the steering, you don't really necessarily feel the bulk of this car with it being 5 meters. But when it comes to parking, yes, it may be a bit of an issue if you're not used to driving big cars. But this car also has a reversing camera to help you, as well as parking distance control sensors to help you in parking this car too, which makes it so much easier to park this car. Yeah, so that's the Hyundai Staria 2.2 diesel executive. This is a car that serves the purpose of literally being a people mover, and a car that has exceeded the way it looks in terms of the ride quality, the comfortability, the convenience, and most importantly, the fuel efficiency of this car. So I hope this review has further helped you make a decision on which car you want to buy, or a car that you may want to rent for this coming December. Anyway guys, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So yeah guys, thank you very much. Shout out.